Hello and welcome to the 27th episode of the ExtremeHW Podcast. Today we have a very special and interesting guest with us, as well as some disappointing ones.
On the special.
Chris, it's been like less than 10 seconds and you really ruined it.
No, I made it better.
Anyway, introducing the disappointing side. Hello, Chris. How are you doing?
I don't even know anymore.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, very swiftly, we have our usual very small Simmons.
Wow. Thank you.
You are a self-proclaimed manlet, so...
I mean, that's accurate. However, rude.
As well, we have Enterprise joining us again.
Hello.
And our special guest, I suppose, is he the founder, but also a writer and all-around jack of all trades. Aha, get it? Because his name is Navjack. Hi.
No, I don't get it.
Thanks, I'm special.
Alex, can you explain that joke? Because I didn't get it.
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, we've also got Andrew joining. Okay, so moving on from the introductions, and hopefully... Well, actually, no, Chris, your mom didn't bring you pizza during the introductions. That's very unfortunate.
I mean, I told her I didn't want pizza. So,
Well, how rude of you.
Yeah.
well, it wasn't... Why is that rude?
Yeah.
Because you were looking for something to eat before doing this?
Well, yeah, and then I found something to eat. I just don't remember what.
You
It's
said it was
been
junk
like-
food.
It's like a few minutes.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
Yeah,
Anyway.
my life's going poorly. So,
Okay. Well, on a slightly more positive note,
No.
Extreme Hardware is doing a pretty cool, I suppose, giveaway with the folding at home project, if you will. Enterprise, do you want to speak a bit about that? Since how you are here.
Oh yes. So as we know, that big COVID word that's floating around for ages now. So obviously, folding at home, big contributor to hopefully finding a treatment. I won't say vaccine because that's not allowed. So a treatment, if you will. And we're holding a giveaway to try and encourage people to fold for the cause. Corsair and InWin have joined in. InWin supplying one of their cases, and Corsair providing one of their 7.1 surround sound headsets. And we're also giving away some cash prizes. And I believe Axifer was giving away a $25 Steam gift card. So in any case, get folding. I think the competition is running for another 2 days, and get in with a chance at winning some prizes.
Nice. Yes. It's also based on work units, so it's not just PPD focused, so gives more chances to pretty much everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I suppose moving on from that.
Well,
What-
do you actually mind if I introduce Jack and get the conversation going with him?
Sure, because I just saw some of the introduction topics and I don't understand them, so go for it.
That's perfectly fine. So as we briefly mentioned, introductions. Navjack here is the founder and lead writer for the Chip Collective.
yeah, he's
which is-
insane, but the cool kind of insane.
Yes,
Thank you.
actually. Both Chris and myself have actually written articles for the site, so we've known Jack for a couple years now. He does a lot of deep dives into AI, image upscaling projects. He's done a few projects with HDR. Would you actually mind talking about a couple of your either recent or favorite projects, or least favorite, even if you want to go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, sure. Well, first I'll talk about the Chip Collective. That wasn't in any of the comments or notes that I did, but might as well talk about the Chip Collective a little bit. A lot of the deep dives that I did on there were big in-depth reviews that basically killed me trying to write because reviews are hard, but they're fun,
Yeah.
and graphs are hard. But some of the other projects that you actually outlined in the document, you got the upscaling stuff that I did, which was... should I just read the comment that I have here? Is this too long?
Yeah, honestly, just go for it.
Yeah, just do it.
Okay, sure. Okay. Yeah, the upscaling videos I was doing for a while. I'm not doing them anymore, but yeah, it was kind of interesting to do. I'd use Magic's Vegas or Virtual Dub to save the individual frames from a movie or video, and then process them with a front end for ESRGAN called Image Enhancing Utility. And before I'd actually process the entire video, what I'd do is I would take a representative frame from most of the content in the video, what's a good way to put that? Just skip that. I'll edit that out. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine. No. Like you would take basically you'd break everything down into individual frames, render them out as images, and then you would run them through your upscaler engine.
Basically, yeah, and you'd have to do it in batches because, Python and .NET front ends don't play well together and things crash, which is not fun.
How many images could you do per batch? Was it 1,000 frames before it crashed?
Just about, yeah. So I would kind of limit it to 1,000 just to be careful, but sometimes that would crash.
Hang on. So 1,000 frames divided by 30 frames per second, 33 seconds of footage per batch. Oh my God, Jack.
Oh yeah. Sometimes I would have 29,000 frames in a folder divided into 1,000 frame folders.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And they're all PNGs or TIFFs, so that's a lot of space, and I don't have that much SSD space.
I mean, what's the point of doing upscaling if you're just going to use a lossy format?
Pretty much, yeah.
Actually,
sometimes I actually did use JPEGs just because I knew it would end up being over 100 gigs.
Oh.
Yeah, it's not that fun, but you would also have to take note of the original frame rate of the video. So then when you put it back into a project in Premiere, Vegas, Resolve, whatever the hell you're going to use, you would have to use the same frame rate. You would have to extract the audio. You put it all back together. And yeah, but I do have a couple links in the document for one video I did finish, which was the intro to the game Arcanum. And another one that I didn't finish was the 1998 game Game of Life, which was like a Windows 95 kind of game. And it had cool dithered backgrounds that I just knew would look neat when they were upscaled. And then when I tried it, it did look neat. Like the trees on the game board actually looked like real trees. And it was weird how it imagined detail that wasn't there.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
Yeah, it was kind of fun, but I lost all of the files for reasons.
Oh.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's valid. Honestly, like the amount of detail and effort that went into that project, because I remember I was following that a lot of your live tweets as you were basically diving deeper into insanity and the realms beyond that, just trying to get all this stuff working. And it was fascinating to read about, but man, I felt for you.
Yeah, I tend to do that on occasion. I'll take on projects and I'll go really deep into them, and that's all I'll be talking about or be doing for like a week or two. But don't ask me about it a week or two later, because I'll forget everything that I did, which kind of sucks.
And that's why you write it down.
I've started doing that a little bit with some of the projects. I made notes for the HDR Doom videos that I'm doing.
Yeah, see, that's good.
Yeah, notes are always good.
Yeah, I'm proud of you, Dad.
Thanks, son.
And then a couple other questions I had were in regards to other articles that other writers that have done. Don't include myself, just because my article I did was weird. But what are some other noteworthy articles that other people have submitted to your site?
Let me take a look here. I know, like, off the top of my head, I love the articles that Moshi did. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. How the hell do you pronounce Dolagesi? Moshi Dolagesi. Yeah, that's probably close. Actually. It sounds Italian. You kind of want to say it Italian, but I know it's not. Dolagesi. Yeah, but he did stuff on a whole bunch of stuff on lithography, and this was before Intel hired him, and now he's working at Intel.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
before he
nice.
was Dr. Moshi.
Oh,
He was
wow.
just regular Moshi.
Yeah.
I
Is
didn't
he
realize he got
Dr.
hired for
Yoshi?
Intel. No,
Wait, is he-
Moshi.
Oh,
Moshi.
'cause I was going to ask if he did any tax fraud.
That's illegal and should not be glamorized.
No,
Thanks,
Yoshi
Yoshi.
should not have done that tax fraud.
Also that. Because it's
But for
illegal.
some reason, it's now an international holiday.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
probably.
it was internationally recognized on Twitter because Twitter, of course, makes holidays for whatever reason. It was fun.
Yeah. I'm sure I could just be like, oh yeah, boss, I'm not going to come into work because Twitter said it's a holiday.
Yeah.
See, people were actually making those jokes. I was like, if you said that to your boss, you'd probably be fired.
I would simply work for a cool boss.
I'm
You
a
get
cool
to
boss.
choose that.
I reckon Chris would try that.
Anyway, that
There
covers
we go.
those things. What about the Jack HDR's Doom? What's that about?
Well, I'll tell you what that's about.
Thank you, Jack.
So I've been recording gameplay videos for probably since 2016, and I started recording things, like in HD, 30 frames per second. Then I moved up to like 4K 30 because that's all I could do. And then I did a 4K 61, and these are all different games. I'm not going to say what the games are; it doesn't really matter right now. But the next logical progression was 4K 60 HDR, and I just happened to have a capture card that could kind of do that. And I got a video where I talk about everything I have to go through to do that. It's not native 4K HDR, but it involves
Aren't you using like a 6-bit TN panel right now?
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm using to play the game on with the preview window with the ReCentral app, for the capture card. But I do have it hooked up to my TV, which is 4K HDR, because I think it needs to negotiate with a TV that actually has metadata for it to actually know the content level and all that, for it to actually be HDR.
All right. I guess that works.
Yeah, it does work, and it looks really good on my TV, but I don't know how good it looks until I watch it on YouTube, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, YouTube processing is something you have been fighting with a lot because it is not very good.
Yeah, and that's why I urge anyone that uploads to YouTube to just upload in 4K if you could output in 4K. Even if you're upscaling your video, give them the highest bitrate thing that you can. And yeah, I mean, people always have their YouTube on auto. It'll go to whatever, their computer or whatever could work for, and it'll look the best that way.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Chris, what
Out
are
of
we hearing in the
interest.
background of your microphone?
I don't even know. It's a pipe. Oh, yeah, there's a drain pipe like 3 feet away from my head.
You should get an RTX card and use RTX voice to filter out noise in the background.
You know what, Jack? You should not tell me what to do. You're not my dad.
Aww.
Wait, you're backpedaling now.
Yeah, he's only my dad when I
It's convenient.
Yeah, no, the fun thing about this drain pipe is that I can hear water running down it when people flush the toilet, which
Awesome.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, it means that my family's poop is several inches away from my face and I'm down here.
Chris.
Okay.
All right, fine. If you want to hear a better intrusive thought, I was in a park today and there were lots of geese, and I was thinking about petting them.
Well, but you didn't. And
I did
both,
not pet the geese.
And both Anders and I called you out on it.
It's not illegal to pet them. They're not owned by anyone.
They look so soft, though. It's like you just look at their necks. It's like, oh, yes, that's wonderful down. And it's a neck. And like it would just be a nice handle for me to grab. And
As long as you weren't doing that to children, it was fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, he wouldn't even grow the balls to go pet the geese. So there was that.
Yeah.
Please don't just strangle geese, Chris.
No, he's not going
I
to strike
won't
them.
pet them hard. I promise. I got in trouble one time with the rabbits when I did that, and now I can't do that anymore.
Chris, you shouldn't make jokes like that.
That's a reference to literature.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I went to high school.
Okay, anyway.
Right, so should we move on to some topics? Or...
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I suppose there's actually Wait.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking that these were up to date.
Yeah,
because
they are.
the folding at home one sounded very familiar, but I guess last time it also exceeded another milestone, and it's exceeded another milestone again.
Yeah, so the last milestone was, I believe, 15 exaflops, and we reported on that a couple weeks ago.
This one's 2.4. I think you're thinking of 1 exaflop.
Or 1.5.
It was 1.5, I think.
1.5, I can't read.
Yeah, that's okay. Me neither.
So yes, Folding at Home project has passed 2.4 exaflops, which is more than the top 500 supercomputers combined, which is peanuts.
The entire top 500.
Yeah. It's pretty intense, actually.
Yeah. So there are some issues with this number in that it sums up the compute performance of every system that has submitted a work unit in the past 50 days. However, given that it went from 1 exaflop to 2.4 exaflops in the span of 3-4 weeks, I think it's pretty safe to say that most of these are active.
So I'm gonna my theory on that is because the issue before was just the work unit servers that was distributing the work units were constantly overloaded. They did not have enough work units to distribute. And then I know Linus Tech Tips and I believe Intel and a few other individuals with large ISP pipes have actually started standing up their own servers to help assist Stanford with the ingest and distribution of the work units. So my theory is that this 2.4 exaflops number is just because people are actually consistently getting more work units now, which is funny because I'm still I still have been waking up in the morning to none of my GPUs with work units. So
same, actually, my CPU is getting them, but not my GPU.
So I'd be really curious is if they had enough servers set up to be able to support the number of clients that are attempting to grab these work units, what that number would actually look like.
Thanks, Jack.
I don't know how much more it would go up.
I could see it probably hitting 3 exaflops. Just, I mean.
Oh yeah, no, I was trying to think
let's take a look at how my 780 is doing.
Maybe unconservatively, even closer to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this is slightly broken. Oh, here we go. Looking at the graph of my 780, there was a big gap from April 12th to April 16th. So it was like a 4-day span without work units. So yeah, it's looking at all the flat lines here, I'd say 2/3 uptime.
Mm-hmm.
Just an estimate. As far as like how many of those exaflops are actually recent, incidentally, the article says that it started out at 470 petaflops. So it has quintupled its compute capacity due to the horse flu.
Yep.
So,
and then in other folding news, to boast about the ExtremeHW folding team, we are currently ranked 819 overall.
Neat.
That is peanut, actually.
Yes.
Didn't take very long to get there.
No,
I should join you guys.
You
Hell
should,
yeah.
Yeah, you
Hey,
should.
you could potentially win some stuff.
Hey, Jack,
Oh, wow.
you should, you
who
should
is Jake?
reinstate the 1800X.
Oh, JPM boy.
Yeah, he's just taking off.
Yeah, JPM boy. I know him from the old forum, and he was consistently doing 10 million PPD about a year ago.
Oh yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some very high people. Like Paperclip also ranked 227.
Yeah, Paperclip, I believe, is Enbrock. That's his old username, but he just keeps using it for folding because good for him. Yeah, and Brock has always been a huge contributor. Super Crumpet, who goes by Captain Asian folding username, he has always been really big folder. Me and him have been trading PDs lately just because I have all my systems running now.
I wonder how long you're going to stay at #1 rank, Simmons.
Not very long. Once JP Boy starts hitting like full capacity again, that guy is absolutely insane.
I should just buy a bunch of old mining rigs and set them up to start folding solely so I can be better than Simmons.
See, ironically, I was only folding on 3 GPUs before up until Alex started out producing me. So I was like, haha, no.
Well, not just that. Like, I have gotten nothing with my GPU. My CPU is like 180K per day, which isn't that bad, I guess, but still.
Yeah, for CPU, that's actually not terrible.
Yeah, and it's still not like 1 point something million, GPU's like 1.6, 1.7.
Yeah, incidentally, if you have more GPUs to potentially grab your work unit, your odds of getting more work units goes up fairly significantly, and that's basically the reason why I've been holding the #1 producing slot.
Hey, speaking of work units and anatomy waving contests, Alex, how's it going with your coworker right now? The one who is very proud of his, 8,000 PPD?
Wow, that's so much.
I haven't looked in a while. I'm not #1 on the thing anymore because I haven't folded in like a month there.
But that's okay.
I'm still top 5.
As long as you're ahead of Mr. Smug.
No, I'm
not anymore.
He's got 6.9 million points.
What? Where did those come from?
Dude, you can surpass them in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Wait
3.
Wait until the competition's over and then absolutely go for it.
That's probably what I'm going to end up doing, just so I can pass him again.
I'll join that in as well. It'll be funny.
Yeah.
I made a meme about it, but Alex won't send it to him.
No, I'm not doing that.
I love that video so much. It's high quality.
I'm going to send it here.
Is it something that HR would dislike?
Yeah.
Yes.
Then Alex, you should send it.
No. And Chris, you wonder why I won't give you my boss's phone number.
I mean, there's lots of reasons to not do that. So anyway, I don't want your boss's phone number. I just want to help you when you're on conference calls.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sound like help either.
No, I'm helpful.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from a very unhelpful Chris.
Yeah, that's me. I'm helpful.
Have you seen this article, Chris, about Intel's Ghost Canyon NUC9i9QNX?
The NUC? The Ghost Canyon NUC?
Look, they put it as one word along with 9i9QNX.
Yeah, it's
the new unit of computing.
QNX.
Okay, so it's the Knockin' Quicks.
Alex, I'm going to hit you IRL. Okay, so here's the deal.
I want you to refer to it as the Knockin' QX.
Here's the deal. I don't want to talk about the NUC just yet because I want to say something first before we go into this. So, Mini X, it's a form factor.
It's fine, Alex.
It's a small form factor. It's got a CPU socket, and it's got one PCI Express slot, and it's small, and it's really nifty. However, there's a different form factor that's even better called Mini DTX. And it's basically just Mini ITX, except it is 33 millimeters longer. And that additional length allows it to contain a second PCI Express slot. So you could have basically a Mini ITX PC, except now you can run like 2 GPUs in it, let's say. So
but it's not modular.
It's not modular. Okay, well, whatever. But anyway, manufacturers aren't really making them. I think Asus made a Mini DTX PC for X570. Instead of having 2 slots, it's just a bit longer to have I don't know, some VRMs or something. It's really boring.
Well, that's not technically accurate, Chris, because the board, that X570 board had the by 16 slot, and they had also a by 1 slot above it.
I think that's a lie, and you're a liar. First of all, the buy one slot would go below it because your standard GPU is dual slot, but whatever. So
Well,
the point is, it didn't really add a whole lot of expandability as far as I know. And they only, you see a few of them pop up, but it's usually stuff like H110, H310, A320, like that kind of chipset, the low-end entry-level stuff. So the dream of a dual slot, small form factor PC, it's dead. But then Intel released the whatchamacallit. Oh, Simmons, that's a fake SODIMM slot for like
M.2. Yeah, close enough.
Yeah.
Regardless,
whatever.
it's a by 4 slot.
So anyway, Intel comes in with their compute element form factor, which is a PCI Express card, except it's also a motherboard. And that plugs into a backplane. It has 2x16 slots. One goes to the host, that's your compute card, and the other one goes to your GPU. It has 1x4 slot, and it has one M2 slot. So you can run not 1, not 2, but 3 PCI Express devices on this, what is it, like 8x8 inch PC? How big is
just
it
about.
exactly? It is very small. And like the whole unit, the whole compute card element form factor is basically quad slot case. It's just the PCI Express slots out of a micro ATX case. Like everything else up top is chopped off. It uses I believe, Flex ATX power supply. Yeah, Flex ATX. That's common in server motherboards. They tend to have very loud fans, incidentally. You can get 40 millimeter Noctuas, though, if you want to mod them. So the Ghost Canyon NUC and also the Quartz Canyon NUC, which is a variant that has a Xeon, those use the Element compute card, this little PC on an expansion card. Really nifty. However, I'm not going to buy one because it is really friggin' expensive. Like $1,600 for the bare bones system, which is just CPU, power supply, case, and like, I guess that's it.
So, I mean, obviously, this thing's going to be extremely expensive just due to the fact that it is unique form factor, and it's the first iteration of this unique form factor.
You can get an i3 variant, although I think that's a 4-core, 4-thread i3, like mobile i3 at that, so it's capped at like 45 watt TDP.
But regardless, I
not very good, but that's like $800 MSRP for a bare bones system. But I really like it as a concept. I would get one if it weren't for the price.
I mean, I'm expecting that if this thing is popular enough to, say, hey, there's an actual interest for this, I could see system integrators going this route, because especially this kind of system, maybe not with exactly the specs that they're selling these things at now, full-fledged graphics card, full fat i9 or i7 or whatever.
Yeah.
This is a great form factor for those mass-produced, basically workstations that they use in office buildings. They're tiny, they're powerful.
That's kind of what the NUC is.
Well, yeah, but the problem with the NUC is the NUC has always been really fascinating due to the fact that it is a very high-performance machine in a small package. Versus,
high performance is relatively recent. Bean Canyon was a good one.
Well, sure, Bean Canyon.
Hey, it's better than Baby Canyon.
No, well, yeah. All right, we're derailing, but like that's the thing is you get some of these really, really crappy like Dell or HP workstations.
Oh, yeah.
They are probably about $150 to produce, and they get sold for $980 at an absolute minimum because office buildings like these mass-produced things and warranty support. But like this kind of system where the entire motherboard, CPU, RAM is all on a module, that makes serviceability significantly easier from some aspects.
Because all you need to do for a next generation, you don't have to replace the backplane, you don't have to replace the power supply, you don't have to replace the case, you don't have to change the form factor, you don't have to change the cooling. In fact, I mean, the cooling is a heat sink on it. Like the Element compute card looks a lot like a GPU. All you need to do, pop off the old PCI Express card, pop in the new one, easy peasy. I don't want to compare it to a CPU socket even, because a CPU socket is heavily dependent on the platform. Like, that's tied to DRAM, that's tied to your South Bridge, that's tied to all of this I/O. But in this case,
I
guess it would be like you upgrade from your old PC to a new PC and you keep like your old case and your old graphics card and whatnot, except you don't have to swap out like as many parts. It's a lot. I'm not sure how to put this. It's much easier to do though.
No. It has a potential to be very upgradable. My biggest fear though is Intel doing typical Intel things where they're going to be reusing the same form factor, or like the parallel I'm making is a socket 1151, where
in that case, there's reasons to do it because again, that's tied so heavily to the motherboard and features on it. Well, this one, it's just an I/O port. The only connection to the rest of the system is this PCI Express by 16 slot. You can do
yes,
that
but my primary concern is they start doing generational changes where they're using basically the exact same backplane, but they've changed some of the wiring on the backplane to better support the new features that they want to push on this new system on PCI Express card, essentially.
Simmons, I don't think you understand how PCI Express works. You can't just swap the pins around and expect.
I was always under the impression that this backplane was using a different PCI Express pinout rather than the traditional form factor, because you can't just jam this thing into a motherboard or PCI Express slot and expect it to work.
You absolutely can. Well, it's not going to work. No, I don't think it's going to break though. I assume Intel's thought of it. Actually, I would love to see like an ad hoc network over PCI Express standard made, so you could just like plug a bunch of these into a system and have a cluster in a box. But anyway, like, this isn't even the first time that Intel has done a motherboard on a PCI Express card. A few years ago, this was with the Broadwell, I think, the Xeon E3 V4 line. So that was like 2015-ish.
Okay.
Intel made a visual compute accelerator, as they called it, and it contained 3 complete computers on a PCI Express card. It had 6 SODIMM slots, 2 for each CPU, and it had 3 quad-core 8-thread Iris Pro CPUs on it. And I guess the idea was you would be able to access these and use them to like accelerate stuff using QuickSync. They've also made some dev kits using Xeon Ds. Serve the Home documented these in their Ghost Canyon review. They made some dev boards for Xeon D blade servers. Like, there have been a lot of these over the years. Actually, they've done that with multiple Xeon D dev boards. So this isn't the first time Intel's done this. I hope it sticks around because it's a cool form factor.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact is, you don't even have to go with a high-end. You don't really have to go with a high-end system for this either. Like, you could absolutely just slap like an Atom on it, although that would be silly because that'd be a very big system.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I like it. I like the idea.
I can see like these system integrators or like big OEM manufacturers developing their own motherboard on PCI Express slot that could just slot into this exact same form factor, and then you just have different options for hopefully a competitive market on this tiny form factor system. That seems pretty neat, if you ask me.
Yeah. As far as I can tell, though, the edge connector is just, or rather, the way this attaches to the backplane is just gender swap PCI Express connectors. Instead of having a slot, you have the fingers. That's a really weird way to phrase that.
Yeah, and you sure did, buddy.
Imagine having like a USB Type A plug sticking out of your computer, and you have a flash drive with the socket on it, and that's how you get data off your computer. It's just like that. It doesn't matter. It's just wires, just wires and stealing an existing form factor. So there's no reason that other manufacturers couldn't say, "Hey, we want to make our own compute card for this." Hell, as far as I know, reason that AMD couldn't do that unless there's a patent preventing them.
And honestly,
I get one of these with Ryzen.
And
I get one of these with Epic.
And I think another really interesting thing would be is like seeing even integrators developing their own like backplane cases. Like there's nothing stating that everything has to be mounted in that traditional vertical form factor that it's currently in. So imagine this person developing this very flat and thin case that holds the exact same hardware just spread out, and then you can set things on top of it like a desk like monitor stand or something. I don't know. It seems neat.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, just like we are using very old specifications for traditional motherboards. Like ATX was officially released by Intel in 1995. It is 25 years old. Sure, it's been modified since then. It's been shrunken since then. But we are very much using a form factor that was designed for a totally different era of computing. And that's why Ghost Canyon is so exciting, because this is a new thing.
Okay. That was a tangent.
Wow,
I don't know. It wasn't a tangent. It just kind of just went on.
Evolved.
Yes. I think we should move on. And something that I find quite interesting, actually. Actually, the next two things are actually quite interesting.
You know what I really like? I like legs. What do you like, Alex?
What?
Okay, so what's quite interesting...
was your invitation to say arms and then talk about Google's new project.
Chris,
Chris,
I never trust you.
Chris, this just sounded like you talking about a fetish that you just discovered.
Chris, I never trust you.
Send that picture that he sent in the other Discord in here.
No.
Disturbing image.
Oh, that one? The one of the couch?
No.
Oh.
Anyway,
oh, yeah, that one.
Anyway, so Google's rumored to be building their own processor for the Pixel and Chromebooks that they are releasing, I suppose, which is kind of interesting. The chip is supposed to be called Whitechapel, so, very catchy, and you will definitely forget about it after 2 minutes.
Siri, Google, what is an internal code name?
Nola for you. It's going to be an 8-core ARM processor built using Samsung's 5nm process, and is supposed to be optimized to run Google's machine learning technology and data collection.
Oh boy, it's got Cortex cores and some Tensor cores. Amazing.
It's like the Apple's, what did they call it? They call it like the Neuron chip or something.
Bionic chip, I think.
Bionic, that's the one. Bionic A11. No, I think it's got Neuron, but I think Neuron's like the machine learning section of the SoC, but the whole SoC is called Bionic. Yeah, I still prefer their names of just A9, A10, A11, A12.
Oh yeah, the Apple chips. Yeah, because that's...
Is that an internal code name?
Well, that's not generation. The code names are usually vague, because that way if they get leaked to the public, it doesn't tell you what it is.
Well, nor does A13. Oh my goodness, it's the next
yes,
Apple
it does.
CPU.
Yeah, and that can tell you a lot of information. Not necessarily what it does, but if you've got like, hey, we just shipped all of these A13s today, that tells you a lot about stuff.
Okay, hey, you know what? I have a good parallel. Hey, a new i5 was leaked. Great.
Nice.
What does that mean? Which generation are we talking about? Yeah, it's not not a good comparison, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, you suck.
No, that would be like if Intel said a new Skylake got leaked.
Chris,
whatever.
Chris.
Look, I'll fight you, but I don't want to bother right now.
Okay, Chris. Anyway, so yeah, it's supposed to be in their phones and their Chromebooks, built on Samsung's 5nm process. So basically, it just sounds like they're going to Samsung fabs and being like, hey, this is our custom ordered ARM chip. Which,
man, aren't Apple and Samsung rivals? That doesn't make sense that they would be working together.
It makes a whole lot of sense, though, because the evolution the first Pixel 2 had the Pixel the Visual Core, Pixel 4 had the neural core, and now I guess Google just wants to put them on one chip by making their own SoC.
Oh, that would actually make sense. Yeah, just like one chunk of silicon with the existing hardware.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of like an APU if you think about it, but for marketing buzzwords.
So there's not much really to talk about that other than that. So moving on to the next thing, which is kind of like relevant to that, I suppose. Mobile SoC vendors have potentially been caught providing benchmark
MediaTek's
cheating.
a bunch of liars. All right, so let's elaborate on that. Yeah. So what did Andre do this again? So Andre, I can't pronounce his name. I think he's French.
Frumasuno. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Simmons. But anyway, yeah, so he's a writer at Anantech, and all the way back in 2013, he became somewhat notorious for discovering Samsung's benchmark cheating in the Galaxy S4, where the Exynos chips would just like whitelist certain benchmark applications and then get rid of all like safety restraints and whatnot to run at a higher speed and look faster than the competition. And MediaTek is doing the same thing again now. Did Andre discover this? I think he did.
Yeah, well,
Chris,
because
imagine reading the article, but yes, he did.
Yeah, because in the article, he straight up talks about the S4. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
So yeah, it's the
can't remember
Helio.
if he discovered the new thing or if somebody else did. And he look, it doesn't really matter, but it's just funny that he's probably going to get blacklisted by a different company now because Samsung has stopped sending stuff and communicating with Anantech because Anantech cost him a lot of money in a class action lawsuit.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
they shouldn't cheat.
Yeah, they should simply not break the law.
So, do you know what the gist of this this new exploit is?
It's not an exploit. It's just in the
It's cheating.
in the SoC's firmware. There's a list of applications, and it will whitelist them. And if those are detected, it will just run at like maximum speed. Apparently, this is a thing in China. I guess they don't really have the laws that we do regarding this kind of thing. So this kind of
Wait.
cheating is,
There's
like,
laws
expected.
against this. There's laws against having things that adjust the Linux kernel to change boost parameters.
Changing boost parameters, but only under benchmarks, so the benchmarks make your device look faster than it is. Like, it's not that the device cannot do this. Obviously, it can because the processor is doing it, but rather that the device will never be running under these boost parameters under any other circumstances.
It's kind of like false advertising in a way.
Yeah, but why don't they just do this globally? Why don't they give us an option to do this globally and we just check a box and we agree to it's going to be hot in my hand and I'm going to have 1 hour of battery life now.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean that would indeed be a neat thing. Andre did talk about that. But yeah, so what does it do? So what does the sport mode actually do? It fixes some DVFS characteristics of the SoC, such as running the memory controller at the maximum frequency at all times. The scheduler is also more aggressive in load tracking, so it's easier for workloads to have the CPU cores ramp up. So they boost faster, they boost longer.
Yeah, it's just throttle stop for your phone.
Yeah, pretty much.
But
because it's selectively applied to benchmarks, yeah, that's false advertising.
Apart from that, like if you take the route of where you just essentially have a toggle switch that this will run, basically, like I suppose you could compare it to Windows' power modes. You know, you got balanced high performance and power saving. If you could just always keep it on high performance, it might draw too much current and just shut off because your battery's a piece of crap and it's a 3-year-old phone. And then you might start reeing at Apple that they broke your phone and actually it's a 3-year-old battery causing it to shut down. And then you're going to try and do a class action lawsuit. And then you're going to get upset even if they offer a battery replacement for $25. And then you're going to stay on an iPhone 6S that's broken forever and complain about all the features it has and not ever upgrade to the iPhone SE, aren't you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm gonna punch you in the face in real life, Alex. I know where you live.
No, but basically, like, I mean, having a benchmark mode could be kind of neat, just so long as it literally says
It's a
any
benchmark
damage,
mode, yeah.
any damage done to this, like if it shuts off, if it overheats, you did this.
Yeah.
You know?
And I mean, like, there's a valid reason to do that because it's kind of like overclocking that kind of tuning, right? Like, yeah, sure, this isn't 24/7 stable. You should probably not be using this at all times, but you can do it. I mean, hell, just slap an LN2 mod on your phone and see how far you can push it just because it seems funny. So yeah, like I do not mind that this sort of tuning exists. It just shouldn't be silently applied only to benchmarks.
I completely agree. Yeah. And it kind of sucks that they're now hiding it. They're not putting it in, the etc directory in the same file. It's just in the firmware. You can't read what the profiles are. You don't know what it's applying to now. Just give us an app that lets us do this. I kind of like this in a way because I just like making things go fast. And this seems neat, but I just don't want it to be underhanded. Just give me control over it.
Yeah,
it's like mobile overclocking in a way. Well, it's a start of it.
I mean, hell, we got unlocked laptop chips. What's the problem with an unlocked phone sock?
The phone doesn't have a fan.
I mean,
also,
you can get some gamer phones that have like little 40mm fans on the back.
Those aren't 40mm fans. Those are like 10 or 20mm fans.
Oh wow, that's even worse. Yeah, I've got a 20mm blower fan on an SSD right now.
How loud is that?
Actually, not at all. I put my ear right up next to it at 12 volts, and
did it go crunch?
A bit of a buzz. But
did you crunch your ear?
That's about it.
This sounds like. Honestly, this sounds very dangerously close to the hot dog versus Delta fan test.
Oh no, I mean the fins on it are very tiny, and there's no way in hell the motor's putting out enough torque to hurt me. But yeah, no, just one of those like weird unbranded Chinese M2 adapters I got off Amazon. It was like $13. It was cheaper than the rest of them, and also came with this silly fan. So of course I got it.
Was that the one you wrote about?
No, those were all the SD card adapters. This one's just like M2 card because my motherboard doesn't have M2.
Didn't those ones that you wrote about end up being?
Oh, I returned them all because they were garbage.
Right.
Yeah, I own none of them now. I got my $76.07 back. I kept the
good for you
cards though, because you can use those. Yeah, cheating at benchmarks. It's a thing that people do. Oh, also, speaking of cheating at benchmarks, here's a different kind. User benchmark. A bunch of subreddits are now banning it because basically it comes down to single core score only, and lots of people get salty about it because the bad processors are ranked higher than the good processors.
They don't know how to read friggin' rankings on a website. I'll defend user benchmark because the benchmark's good if you just look at individual actual test links and you don't look at friggin' rankings. It's the same thing with Fastmark.
Yeah, the overall number is the bad company, so I don't like it.
When you're comparing like the percentage score thing for a processor to another processor, that percentage isn't comparable in between things, but people think it is. People are dumb. I hate people.
Oh yeah, the percentile score. Yeah, like I've got like my Rattatas in the top percentile of Rattatas. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Can I put on my tinfoil hat and ask if it was the other way around? Would this have happened?
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
I mean, this was spawned by user complaints mainly. Granted, the Jannies made the decision in the end, but user complaints were what prompted it. So no, it would not have happened.
So what you're telling me is I should not be selecting my CPU purely based on Cinebench R15. benchmarks.
Single threaded.
No, Simmons, you actually should be selecting your CPU based on that, because then you will buy a CPU from the good brand. The good brand.
Yeah, you're right, Chris.
Yeah, you'll be buying a
really-
3950X because that has probably the highest one without overclocking.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I'm really mad that the 3900X is not a Threadripper chip, because I wanted to get that just to make Chris mad.
Yeah, Simmons, you enjoying your 1800X but worse?
Hey,
That's rude.
No. Listen. We've had this conversation on this podcast numerous times.
My name's Simmons. I need PCI Express slots. Just buy Epic in that case, you heckin' nerd.
Dude, if I could, I would. I would. But
there are some entry-level Epic boards that are fairly cheap. Like, you might want to take a look into it. You're not going to get like the 64-core big boys, but the single-socket P suffix chips, those are price competitive with equivalent Threadrippers. So,
I've actually thought about getting current gen Threadripper here in the next year or two, just to replace my server, because quite frankly, current gen Threadripper has better IPC and better frequency than the current dual socket Xeon board that I'm running right now for my server. So, nice. And it's a game server, so I need the frequency.
All about those IPCs.
Exactly. I mean, I actually had the issue where, because I'm running my dual Xeon board for a bunch of gaming VMs, and for whatever reason, Server 2016, if you're running it in desktop mode with Hyper-V on top of it, Hyper-V does not have the right power state requirements to force the CPU to actually clock up. So it was just running all of my VMs at 1.3 gigahertz, and Minecraft did not like that.
Why don't you use VMware, like ESXi host and stuff like that?
Okay, so that's a story of its own. But the short version is I managed to get a copy of Server 2016 data center for free through my.
Wow, look at Simmons using legitimate software.
Imagine
that's
that.
something that everybody should do, because intellectual property.
Well,
law.
and for me, before I even had the opportunity to play around on VMware, getting into Server 2012, which is what the server was originally running, was a lot easier for me to understand the whole hypervisor concept. So when I was just moving over to Server 2016, I was the big dumb, and I just went for desktop Server 2016, even though I also currently own a Hyper-V bare bones license.
Please don't do that. Sorry, this is just a complete tangent thing, but I know you can do the CLI or the GUI server install. Just don't do the CLI install. I mean, but that's the thing. CLI install.
I do that on my Ubuntu server.
Well, okay. So, and on that note, it's just like I'm running basically desktop Server 2016 with a layer 2 hypervisor on top of it to run my games. And actually, this article that I've started writing for the Chip Collective that I need to get back to at some point was all about getting a trunk into my VMs on desktop version of Server 2016, which was a complete pain in the ass.
I just like the ESXi hypervisor because it's easy.
Oh, dude, it's so much better. Like I'm not even going to deny that.
I can't run it on my Sandy Bridge CPU because of no VTD. I mean, I can run it, but why? Then I run 32 bits.
I'm pretty sure that all of the other Sandy Bridge chips did. It was just the K chips that didn't, and I think that was the case up until Skylake.
Yep.
And I don't understand why.
Well. But either way, it was it's just that really
maybe
crappy,
it was Devil's Canyon, but
niche thing, and it's just I can't repurpose it, and I'm not going to spend money on doing it, so I'm just going to leave that copy of Windows 10 that I've had since 10.240.
And do you know what my actual favorite thing about Server 2016 is it doesn't have the same Windows 10 lock where it's bound to a motherboard. So if you tear down an old server and then you just move the drives over to a new system, it just works because that's how servers are. You are constantly moving drives.
That's a problem that affects our audience.
You can just use DISM though to get around it, I think.
I mean, yes, you can. However,
you can also call Microsoft on the phone and say, "Hello, my motherboard."
Well, no,
They usually do
What's
it.
interesting with that as well is I've had very mixed results with Windows caring about motherboards. Like I changed from a I can't remember the name. It was a 790 FX to, I don't know. It was the Phenom 2 965BE motherboard, basically. I changed from that to my 1155 motherboard with the same Windows installed, and it didn't complain.
How did it not break?
yeah.
That's a real
I don't
question.
know. That was Windows 7, by the way.
No, it's really more of an issue with Windows 10 these days because my brother, he just recently built a system on X570. And I used to recommend the Asus TUF X570 board until I realized how many issues it has because he ended up having to automate that board twice. And each time that he got the board replaced, we had to recall Microsoft and say, hey, the key's no longer active, help. And we would spend 45 minutes on the phone waiting, and they would complain because it was an OEM copy of
That's what I was going to say.
Windows.
Like, I don't have an OEM copy either.
Well, and the only reason why we had an OEM copy is because that was a Windows 7 license from an old Dell computer that we ended up just migrating over to X570.
So in other words, a license that you shouldn't have been using in the first place.
Well, no, because it was the exact same drive and the exact same install, just the board on the old system died.
New computer.
Exactly. I mean,
it's dumb.
It took us about.
Shouldn't exist.
I agree. But how else are those big manufacturers going to be able to afford all of those expensive Windows licenses? Come on
just
now.
Pay anyway.
Well,
I promise you. No, like they wouldn't go through the effort of reusing the same hard drive or same Windows key or whatever. Actually,
I think there would reach a point that they would like just say, nope, we're going to. No, could you imagine?
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, no, they get like
Everybody
Microsoft
uses
partnerships
some
and
now.
stuff.
But that's what I'm saying is like those OEM keys cost them like maybe like $20 per key versus $120 per individual desktop key.
Yeah. Windows should be cheaper in general, actually. I think everyone agrees this.
I'm kind of wondering if Windows 10 is setting up Microsoft to move it to like a freemium type model where they're just relying on you buying like Office 365 subscriptions, that kind of thing.
Nah.
I couldn't see that happening.
Yeah, probably not.
That would have to be like a Windows 20 or whatever the replacement for Windows 10 is eventually going to be.
Yeah, the replacement for Windows 10 is going to be
everyone's
Windows 9.
been saying this. No, I just hope the replacement to Windows 10 and how they're going with it, with putting in so much more Linux stuff into it. I do actually kind of agree with Chris there. I can see it being free.
Well, I mean, Linux doesn't mean free. Like
No. I'm just saying, like, Windows is doing a lot of cool stuff lately, and they're becoming a lot less.
Yeah, Microsoft is less scummy now.
Why do people even complain about the price anyway? You can pick it up off eBay for like 15, 20 quid.
That's not legal technically.
Yeah,
those aren't legit copies.
Oh yeah,
and that's exactly what I'm talking about. Is because you can get Windows 10 OEM for like $40 or $30 or whatever it is, but you're paying for somebody else bought an OEM key and is now just reselling it, and that is definitely not legal.
In a lot of cases, it's stuff like I think some of it came through DreamSpark, and it's like
that's
basically
not
so.
legal.
The way I see it is like obviously it's illegal, but ethically, what's the difference between going on eBay and saying, I'm going to do it properly and purchase my Windows license from an illegitimate source and just straight up piracy? Like it's kind of the same deal as like G2A, for example, where games were purchased with stolen credit cards and then they were resold, and then the illegitimate people make money, the actual developers and publishers don't. And then, well, ethically, how is this really better than piracy?
Yeah.
I also think it's
not
like
that I condone it. It's illegal. Don't break the law. Copyright infringement's bad. But yeah.
No, but yeah, it's like also one of the things of like, I think if it was $25, it's like the thing with Steam. If it's $25 and really easy to buy, I think people would just end up buying Windows. I would buy. Actually, I did buy Windows because I got it through my company for $25.
Imagine.
So it's just at the point of like, well, it's just $25. I'm going to buy a proper non-OEM license.
Yeah,
and,
this is easier
just going to
than
not
dealing
deal with
cracks.
any of
This is
the
easier to deal
yeah.
with.
And it just works nicely. So having it like, I don't know how many it is, but I think it's like $120 or not more. That's crazy.
The thing is, you got people like me who don't mind paying 20 quid for one of those OEM builder packs. You know, the ones with the cardboard sleeve, and it comes with a disc and a certificate of authenticity with the CD key.
Right.
Like,
That's important.
Yeah,
It's got to be authentic.
I'm happy with that. I don't care if it's gray area or not. It works.
Yeah, and that's perfectly valid. But that's what I'm getting at is either you're going to spend less money for this cheaper OEM key, and it's going to work up until you replace your motherboard, and then you're going to be spending a couple hours on the phone with Microsoft waiting for you to finally convince them that, yes, I did legitimately purchase this. I'm just replacing a motherboard. Please, for the love of God, help me. I mean, it's just the trade-off. And if you get like one of those full-priced product keys, Microsoft just was like, oh, okay, well, you actually were an idiot and bought this. We'll help you.
Yeah, that's what I did. I've like
Jack, you use Insider Ring so you get it for free. Shut up.
no. I have 2, I think, actual like Windows Pro licenses attached to my Outlook account, and obviously, you know, like my laptops and stuff are also attached to that. So you could like deactivate one and then switch it to another computer, and then just mash the activate Windows thing if it's not working, and then eventually it just lets it work. I don't even have to call anyone.
Nice.
And honestly, that's and going through like one of the OEM programs is how I got my copy of Server 2016. When Microsoft's DreamSpark program was still active, they would just give, or it was basically an agreement between the school's IT department and Microsoft, where they were paying like some subscription to Microsoft to allow their students to download these product keys with no money attached.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Well, you're already giving thousands of dollars to your school, so have some product keys. And that's how I have Server 2016 Data Center.
It's a shame that it's
something.
It's a shame that it's not Server 2019. I've messed with that before. That's a interesting thing to use.
If DreamSpark was still active and functional, I would totally try to make an attempt to get Server 2019.
Did they end it exactly? Was it because of all the illegitimate keys that were getting sold?
No, it wasn't.
Wait,
even
is DreamSpark dead?
Well, no, they changed it into something else, and then they restricted the licensing a little bit further to make it harder or more expensive
to do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Is it just called Microsoft Azure Dev Tools for Teaching? Well, that's
something different entirely. Because that's actually getting.
At least.
Well, no.
Might be a part of it, but I think that's for stuff like Visual Studio as well.
Yeah, because that's Azure specific. No, what this was quite literally you had access to copies of Office. You had copies to various of the Microsoft products, Visual Basic, and stuff along those lines.
No, I know. Like in my university, I had DreamSpark as well. Everyone had it. Or was access to it or whatever. Yeah, I didn't know they killed it off or changed it or whatever you want to.
And that's what it is they changed it. And I'm kind of SOL now because my school finally killed my email from 5 years ago. So now all of my my Office products, they're still active, but they don't have a valid account anymore. So that's great.
Darn.
Fun times.
Yes. Well, we should move on to some off-topic stuff because we have been talking for a while.
Yeah,
when did we get? That wasn't even a story.
Actually,
you didn't even get to Crisis or NVIDIA hiring employees and all the other stuff.
Oh boy, get ready for more. But can it run Crisis remastered jokes? As if the person making it is the first person to come up with it.
Okay, that's about it for Crisis. No, but seriously, like there was a rumor that Crisis was going to be remade by Crytek. It is. So yeah. Anyway, so
there's an interesting thing though in there. If you look at the official actual press release link, and I think they mentioned it on Digital Foundry. The Switch thing is also interesting. Yeah, but they said the focus on single player campaigns with an S, plural. So possibly Crisis Warhead 2. Maybe.
Oh wait, is it getting ported to the Switch as well?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So that's why people are making so many quips about how like, Switch slow. Switch doesn't have enough gigaflops, as if like the Switch isn't twice as fast theoretical as the 8800 Ultra.
No, but
Pretty
Chris,
much,
you don't
yeah.
understand. Nintendo is slow. PlayStation or Xbox fast.
I mean,
that
that
matters.
is generally true, but it's like
It's true, no, but that's all that matters, Chris. My
the
Xbox
Switch-
Xbox game looks better than your Animal Crossing, so that's all that matters. I'm going to send you screenshots.
I don't play
You're going to
Animal
feel-
Crossing. Why would
you're
I play
going to feel
Chore
bad.
Simulator?
You're
I
gonna
can't even
feel
do real
bad.
chores.
I'm just going to whack out my Xbox E-pin and just smear it all over your face.
God, yes, do it, Daddy.
Nice.
I hate you so much.
There are no words.
But there's an interesting thing, though, related to the Switch, also mentioned on Digital Foundry. They talked about how, like, I think it was like in 2014, 2015 or something, NVIDIA showed the Shield running, the Crysis 3 engine version of some maps. And it's like the Switch is basically the Shield, and it was running kind of like 30, 40 unlocked frames per second. So
Jack,
it could definitely do this.
Isn't it a later generation of the SoC? Like, it's
of the
not-
original Shield, because the Shield's also been upgraded and uses the same process and the same chip.
Okay, yeah. I think it's kind of sad that NVIDIA killed off their Tegra line, but I think I think it's sad that NVIDIA killed off their Tegra line, but I think it was only really made for automotive once their like phone ventures and whatnot ended.
I really wish they called it the Sword instead of the Switch.
Oh no, because I
Sword
feel like
and
they would have
Shield.
known that they would have.
Why
No,
would it be called the
I
Nintendo
wouldn't-
Sword?
I wouldn't put it past Pokemon to retroactively sue Nintendo for using Sword and Shield.
No, that's
Pokemon,
not how that
like-
works.
Pokemon is worse than Nintendo for suing people for using anything remotely close to their IP.
Well, yeah, they gotta protect it. They got a lot of trademarks to protect, dude. Like, you do not want Pokemon to go public domain because you just forgot to protect your trademarks.
Wait, is each individual Pokemon trademarked?
I believe so.
That's nuts.
Yeah,
Does someone have to go through and approve the trademark?
I mean, they're probably just done in bulk. Like, yep. Well, I mean, it's probably something like, you know, you get somebody like Kat, where she's just like doing paperwork in the patent office or whatever, and somebody just like drops a stack of paperwork from one company, and it's like, yep, here's all these new Pokemon.
Oh,
We need to get these filed.
moving on from Crysis. So Huawei, everyone's favorite actually, no one really. Who cares?
Nobody cares
Huawei
about
may-
them anymore. They were like good for 2 years, and then Reddit decided they were bad. I don't remember exactly.
They were
They're
ever
stealing
good?
Your freedom data.
Maybe it was a different company. I don't know. Oh no, they're stealing.
I
my
don't really
data.
care.
Oh,
Huawei may enter GPU.
This stupid article, Alex. I don't like it.
Whoa. Okay, Chris, since how you're upset about this, you're reading this now.
All right, so Huawei is reportedly planning to enter the GPU market. Begins this article from bbomb.com.
That's my number one source of news, by the way.
Yeah. So anyway, which is currently dominated by NVIDIA. According to South Korean media reports via MyDrivers, the Chinese tech giant is setting up a GPU division in South Korea. They don't actually link back to that source. Oh, no, wait. Yes, they do. Never mind. I apologize. Huawei is likely to take a business-centric approach with its GPU segment, as the report suggests. The company is focusing on GPUs intended for servers. What was the thing alongside server rates? Oh, it's meant to boost its cloud computing and AI business units. Oh, it's the cloud and the AIs and the machine learnings. It's brains.
What?
They're said to be recruiting NVIDIA employees and executives. The fact that they're recruiting NVIDIA executives is interesting because executives are a bunch of dumb idiots in suits. They very rarely have technical knowledge. Like the fact that
You should say that to Lisa Sue.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that, for example, Lisa Sue has a PhD in engineering, cool. She's the exception. that is not common. And I mean, yeah, sure, you get like good businessmen, they can run a company, whatever, but there's only so much you can do there. Like you'd really want to be poaching like engineering talent, I would think.
But hiring employees from NVIDIA doesn't mean that they're instantly going to be getting NVIDIA power and technology. They can't bring that with them.
Like, yeah, I mean, that would be illegal.
But you know, this is Huawei.
Intellectual properties. China's stealing my IPs. We need to ban China because patent infringement. We're subsidizing their research and development.
No, what'll be the real power move is if they snatch up Raja.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So it's just basically a bunch of rumors and extrapolation and stuff, and
yeah.
You're so excited. Oh,
I mean, that was kind of a dumb article.
I mean, the source that they link to is in Chinese, and I can neither read that nor be bothered to put that through Google Translate. So
you mean your web browser doesn't just have a button that says "Translate now"?
It does. I got an extension that does basically that, but again, I can't be bothered.
So real quick, I threw this last article in here because Jack was struggling with a webcam the other day.
Thank you.
Yeah. So due to the outbreak of horse flu, webcams have become very difficult to purchase these days. To the point where if they are in stock, they are usually in stock through a third-party reseller for a quadruple markup.
Usually, weird how people are profiteering off a pandemic. Never would have expected that one.
Also, I had another reason for throwing this in here. I'm still trying to buy a T300 RS GT, and it is still not in stock.
I thought you were trying to buy a Civic Type R.
Well, that too, but no. I have enough extra funds to be able to purchase this steering wheel controller now, but I just can't buy it because since so many people are locked in their homes with nothing to do, all these driving sim steering wheels that are actually worth a damn are out of stock. And now I'm sitting here waiting for BH Photo to please send me a notification that's actually a legitimate notification this time.
What was the last notification? Was it just telling you, hey, we're going to send you a notification?
It was like, hey, we're sending you this email 2 weeks after you requested for notification. We haven't forgot about you.
We haven't forgotten to send you a notification. There's just nothing to notify you of. Okay, that's how I want my notifications to work.
Yeah, basically. I got really excited for a minute, and then I clicked on the email and I got really mad.
God damn it! Yeah, they'd be like that.
Yeah.
Man, not much to say about webcam shortage, except like, I guess people haven't been
my new career.
Well, I guess people haven't been using their laptop webcams, and now they realize, oh shit, I need a webcam that's good. Or people are just panic stockpiling things that they think they need, which we're seeing all over the place with a whole bunch of things.
More toilet paper.
I bought 5 webcams and toilet paper. Oh, I actually checked the disposable paper cleanup items at Walmart today. They had plenty of tissues, no paper towels, no toilet paper. So if you want to wipe, you are using tissues and trying not to clog the toilet, I suppose.
You know, a funny other shortage is that people have realized that bidets are actually good. So it's actually getting harder to get kid bidets now.
Yeah, that's the butthole gun. It's a super soaker for your butthole.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I think we're good.
Yeah, I think that's about wraps it up for today. We'll leave the chickens until next time. But until then, thank you very much for joining us now, Jack and Enterprise. Thank you, Simmons and Chris. You are,
I'm a guy. I'm a real human being.
He's one of them.
Yeah, he is one of those.
So yeah, thank you everyone for joining, and goodbye.
I love you.
Much love.
Oh God, Frick wasn't here this week, was he?
No.